To be honest, it's one of the most scary genres of music for me. To be honest, it's one of the most scary genres of music for me. For me every day. Irifemasi nisu tadi magero.
Olwaliro bingi mulimu ebipya ku bulwadde bwa Ebola, ebipya ku Olympics ezigenze maaso olwaliro saako n'okusala embalu okwatongozezza mu bannaffe abamasaba. Tovaawo kateke tulabe emitwe mikulu. Okulwanyisa Ebola, bannayuganda abeesogga Kenya basooka kukeberebwa wateereddwawo enkambi ku nsalo. Omusuubuzi akubiddwa amasasi agamutiddewo emityana. Abasawo badduse mu ddwaliro ejjinja. Abantu babataamidde lwa mukazi yafiiridde mu ssanya. Songa ebya Uganda byongera kubijja mu mpaka za Olympics ne Dokasi Nzikuru awanduse. Dakiika ziri 3 eziyise ku ssaawa emu. Nze Farida Nakazibwera nkwaniriza nnyo. Mu kugezaako okuziyiza ekirwadde kya Ebola okusaasaana, ab'obuyinza ku nsalo ya Uganda ne Kenya e Busia ne Malaba bali mu kwekebejja bannayuganda bonna abasala okudda mu Kenya. Kenya etaddewo n'enkambi ku nsalo awasobola okujjanjabirwa abo abayinza okuzuulibwa n'ekirwadde kino. Yo Ministry y'ebyobulamu eyungudde abakugu olwaleero okugenda ekibaale okwetegereza embeera. Katulabe ebiri ku nsalo ya Uganda ne Kenya.
Okuteekebwawo kw'abakugu bano kiddiridde ekirwadde ky'Ebola okwejjirisiza mu disitulikiti y'Ekibaale. Enteekateeka eno ku nsalo ya Uganda ne Kenya egendereddwamu okuziyiza ekirwadde kino okwesogga Kenya. Ow'ebyobulamu mu kitundu kino Jafes Abani agamba nti ebimu ku bibasizaako essira kwe kubuuza abantu gye bava ne gye balaga mu bitundu by'e Kenya okusobola okubalondoola singa wabaawo obuzibu.
We are carrying out surveillance on people who are coming from Uganda, especially Kampala, Kabale and other surrounding areas.
Ekirala kwe kukebera bamulimu abalwadde naddala nga balina obubonero bw'Ebola. Ku ludda lw'e Kenya waliwo enkambi eteereddwawo okwanganga abalina ekirwadde kino singa baba bazuuliddwa.
A room set for emergency in case of Ebola casualties, and we are prepared.
Abantu abakafa Ebola mu disitulikiti y'Ekibaale bakunukkiriza 20 era nga waliwo okutya nti bayinza okuba nga waliwo abavuddeyo n'ekirwadde kino ne basaasaanira ebitundu ebirala.
entiisa ebuutikidde abatuuze b'eggulwe mu ggombolola y'emaanyi Emityana bwe basanze munnaabwe Richard Kawalya abadde omusuubuzi omututumufu nga mufu. Kawalya abazigu bamusindiridde amasasi mu kiro ekikesezza olwaleero nga n'okutuusa kati abatuuze bakyewunaganya. Musasi waffe kabituwe mu bujjuvu.
Ettemu lino likoleddwa mu kiro ekikesezza olwaleero. Abatemu bwe balumbye amaka ga Kawalya ne bamusaba ssente mbu n'asooka okuwalira wabula oluvannyuma kwe kubawa emitwalo 3 ezitabamaze ne bamusaba endala n'azituma mukazi we kyokka abadde tannakomawo ne bamukuba amasasi agamujje mu budde. Abadduukirize we batuukidde mu maka ga Kawalya nga tebakyalina kye bataasa. Kigambibwa nti mu kiseera ettemu lino we lyabeereddewo abawaka babadde bakamala okulya ekyeggulo era ng'abamu babadde batandise okutetenkanya ebiwanga.
Twazituusaawo mu mwanyi nga tugenda tuwulira ebibwatuka ewaka naffe ne tudduka okwekweka. Twagenza okudda twasanze maama akomawo nga atugamba tata wamwafu okutuukawo ng'ayiika musaala.
Alada akutema ono n'ejjambiya nga yeesabise nga yimiridde ku mulyango mu kisenge ng'ejjambiya agigezezza mu jjajja.
Abalala bagamba nti omusuubuzi ono abadde aludde ng'atigomezebwa abazigu bano naye ku luno tebamulekedde bulamu. Poliisi etutte omulambo gwa Kawalya okugwekebejja era nga n'okunoonyereza abaamutemudde bwe kugenda maaso. Ettemu ly'emmundu ligenze liddamu ekyawaliriza ne poliisi okuteekawo ekibinja eky'enjawulo okulwanyisa abazigu.
Poliisi e Kenya eri mu kunoonyereza ku muntu gy'ateeberezebwa okutulisizaako bbomu mu kibuga Nairobi. Kenya ezeekolebwako obulumbaganyi okuva amagye gaayo lwe gaayingira Somalia okulwanyisa abatujju aba Al-Shabaab. Tekinnamanyika oba bbomu eno yabadde etuusiddwa mu kifo yabadde etegekeddwa okukuba oba yatulise mu butanywa. Omuntu omu ye yafiiriddewo, abalala 6 ne balumizibwa.
Nga bannakenya beetegekera okukyaza minisita wa Amerika w'ensonga ez'ebweru Hillary Clinton olunaku lw'eggulo. Bbomu yatulise mu kibuga Nairobi netta omuntu omu saako okulumya abalala. Bbomu eno yatuukidde mu kitundu ekiyitibwa Eastley mu kibuga Nairobi. Poliisi ekyali mu kubuuliriza ku bbomu eno naye nga kiteeberezebwa nti ayinza okuba nga lumira mwoyo yagyetulisirizaako.
We are suspecting, but we are coming with a conclusive report after we do the investigation that seeing the body, how it has been blown off, maybe is the one who was carrying the explosion.
Kenya ezefuna obulumbaganyi bwa bbomu okuva amagye gaayo gagenda Somalia okutambaala abajamula ba Al-Shabaab. Disitulikiti ya Eastleigh mwatulikidde bbomu eno y'emu ku kifo ekisingamu ennyo Abasomali abaddukira Kenya olw'embeera eri ewaabwe. Tekinnaba kutegerekeka oba bbomu eno eyabadde nayo yamutuliseeko nga tannatuuka gye yabadde agenda okukola obutujju.
NTV kusawemu omusawo Dr. Charles Barungi awonedde watono okugajambulwa abatuuze b'ejjinja babadde batamye nga bagamba nti ye ne banne balagajjalidde omukazi eyabadde musanya okukakkana ng'afudde. Abantu balumbye eddwaliro mu Bukambwe ekyawaliriza n'abamu ku balwadde okuliddukamu n'amacupa ku mikono. Bwe twogerera nga abasawo abasinga beekukumye. Yo poliisi eyingidde mu nsonga zino nga n'abakulira eddwaliro bagamba nti omugenzi Hajran Nakato Nambiru teyafudde bulagajjavu.
Abatuuze bano batabuse nga balanga Dr. Charles Barungi n'abasawo abalala ejjinja okubeera abalagajjavu ne kiviirako Nakato Hajira Namubiru okufiira mu ssanya n'olubuto lwa myezi 8. Wabula abakulira eddwaliro lino bavuddeyo mangu era bino ne babisambajja. Mu bukambwe obw'amaanyi abantu bano batuuse n'okuyingira mu busenge gye balongooseza nga banoonya omusawo ono. Kigambibwa nti Nakato yasooka kujjanjabibwa mu ddwaliro ly'e Uganda ng'ayambibwako bbaawe wabula obulwadde bwe bwanyinyitira yamulekawo abooluganda lwe ne bayingiramu ne bamuleeta mu ddwaliro lino ery'ejjinja.
Tukedde ku makya ng'omulwadde ali awo tebali mujjanjaba bajja bakoma ku gundi bakoma ku the next bed olutuusaawo bagamba twagala ssente okusobola okukola ku mulwadde twekubye obusente mu bwaffe twekubye ssente nnyingi ne tubawa ssente mitwalo 7 nga bazigaana baganyako deposit 5 ne tubawa 700 even olutuusaawo bagamba omulwadde afudde ande abisabye.
Kitaawe wa Nakato agamba nti omusawo ono yamusaba emitwalo 7 mbwe era n'agimuwa ate oluvannyuma n'atayambibwa.
Abasawo abo tutuuse wano ng'omwana ali bubi bw'abalira obubi twabuuza omusawo ki yakuba ti omwana amaze okumukebera namukuba ndi muno omwana amaze omukebera ayibona.
Wabula akulira eddwaliro lino Dr. Michael Sinde agamba nti Nakato yabadde ne puleesha eya waggulu era ng'abasawo baakoze kye basobola lwakubanga abantu be tebaabadde na bugumiikiriza eri abasawo.
Omwana wange afa abasawo baagaanye abasawo baagaanye bunina olugambo muzanyi n'olugambo lwabajogera kubagamba ki.
On a ward like where there are midwives, there is a midwives ward round, which means a midwife is also a health worker. The midwives also pick up their patients and they revisit. If we have, let's say, a file of this patient, if we brought this file of the patient, and we said this patient today is about the 8th, and the patient came on the 30th, from 30th up to 8th, there is nothing on the file. It means that the patient has never been seen.
Abadde muyinnyo mulwadde ne olwaye abadde na mukadde kafeeri yawe mulwadde mu theater. Dr. Wadagaji nkola.
Ate yo omubaka w'ekitundu kino Daudi Migereko naye kyamubuuseeko bwe yatuuse ku ddwaliro lino nga tewali musawo yenna ayamba ku balwadde bano olw'okutya nga beekwese era naye agamba nti gavumenti egenda kunoonyereza ku nsonga zino.
There is suspicion of negligence, but the state is investigating this matter. Other doctors are coming in. They have taken up this matter, and the doctor who was on duty is also at the police giving a statement.
Poliisi yatandise dda n'okunoonyereza ku nsonga zino nga wasindikiddwayo n'abasawo 3 okwekebejja ekya Sennakato. Wabula abalwadde mu ddwaliro lino balabiddwako nga batandise okulyabulira ate abalala nga kati be bakola omulimu gw'okuzaalisa bannaabwe abatuusizza.
Ebyokwerinda binywezeddwa mu Kisenyi Mengo wano mu Kampala. Ekizimbe ky'ebyamasanyu ekimanyiddwa nga Social Center bwe kibadde kiddizibwa Obwakabaka bwa Buganda. Ekizimbe kino kibaddeko enkaayana nga Patrick Byakagaba abadde akiddukanya akaanya okukiddiza ab'e Mengo era ebiseera bingi wabaddewo okulwanagana n'okuwanyisiganya ebisongovu buli enjuyi zombi lwe zibadde zisisinkana. Engoma saagalagalamidde zikedde kuvuga okukoowola abantu ku mukolo guno.
Engoma saagalagalamidde zaakedde kuvuga okukoowola abantu ku mukolo guno. Ab'omu Kisenyi babadde tebeetaaga nnyo ngoma eno kubanga olunaku luno babadde balujjukira era nga balulinze. Gavumenti yali yasuubiza dda nti ekizimbe kino yakiddiza dda Obwakabaka, wabula Patrick Byakagaba ng'ono yali akikuuma abadde akyagaanya okukiwaayo.
Mwami Byakagaba olunaku lumu nga tuli mu hoolo omututeesa yajja n'asibawo. Awo nno obuzibu obwatandikira n'atusibira munda. Yatusibira munda twakuba masimu ku poliisi yajja n'etuggulira. Kati okuva ku olwo olunaku Byakagaba yaddamu okuddamu okubeera ng'omuntu.
Ennyimba eziwaana ziyimbiddwa nga kwe batadde okuwanika bendera za Buganda ne Uganda okulaga nti ekizimbe kibaddiziddwa. Okutuuka ku kino bagamba nti tekibadde kyangu.
Bali yasaba n'asaba omwezi gumu ne gumuweebwa. Omwezi gwawera n'akanya ewedde lwa mukaaga oluwedde omwezi ne guwera ne bajja wano okumugjamu n'alema era baatuuka okulagira ekkuba emmundu. Ode emmundu zaakubwa enkomi ya byonna ndoza wala bana busikala bamu be bayambula.
Poliisi olwaleero ebaddewo okuziyiza embeera yonna ebadde eyinza okuvaako okulwanagana era nga yeekulembeddemu okukwasa ab'e Mengo ekizimbe.
Kati ekintu kyokka kyo tukyamuholdingira we wantu wokka waasula otanaba kumujja.
Ekya Byakagaba okugira ng'asigazaako ebisenge ebimu ku kizimbe kino abamu tebakitutte bulungi.
Wanna kuba olukiiko lw'omuluka abantu n'embakisa n'embaga banne mubeere bagumu mukakkane lw'omukaaga bwe lunaatuuka Byakagaba ajja kuba avudde. Byakagaba akyaliza awo tubeera tuwangudde bo beera batuwangudde.
Kakati olwaleero bamuwa ennaku 6 Andrew Kaweesi n'amugamba nti ennaku 6 bwe ziggwako jamu ebintu byo.
Kyokka nga bwe bagamba nti nnyama ntono okaayane kuli mu nkwawa tubalese bakuma kyoto nga beekulisa okutuuka ku buwanguzi. Irene Namyalo, NTV.
Webale nnyo Irene Namyalo. Poliisi Busia ekutte omusajja agambibwa okusuula ebiwandiiko byali mu ganzi w'ebyobuyigirize mu Kabuyonjo. Bano baafuna obutakkaanya obwabaviirako okwawukana oluvannyuma lw'emyaka 3. Kino kyaluma nnyo omusajja nti kubanga omuwala ono yali tamuzaaliddeeyo wadde omwana bw'atyo naye n'amukolera ettima.
Okechi Peter nga yamyuka tawuni kiraka webusi ya tawuni council eyakwatiddwa polisi ng'emulanga okubuza ebiwandiiko bye yali muganzi we Hadija Hussein ng'ono yali mu Somali. Kigambibwa nti ebiwandiiko bya muganzi we yabisuula mu kaabuyonjo. Polisi yazinze ennyumba ye n'esangamu omufaliso, kompyuta n'akuuma akakuba empapula, wabula ensawo y'engoye yo terabikako.
Empapula ez'omwana omuwala ono yasomerwa wano ku Busheshes n'amala koosi ye n'omulenzi ono yazinyaga nazisula mu ttooyi.
Bano kigambibwa nti baali babeera wamu kyokka bwe bafuna obutakkaanya kwe kwawukana. Okechi agamba nti ebyobuyigirize bya Hadija okubula tabirinaako kakwate wadde nga Josephine Akero wa poliisi abiwakanyizza.
Different statements. Mara he threw them in the toilet. Mara he was lying sick in the house and they were stolen. Mara he moved and they were stolen from Arubaine. He has very many different stories. Okech gave her a condition that she should first divorce her husband and come back to him, who was a boyfriend when she was at school, produce for him a child, then that's when he will release the documents to her.
Okechi kati akuumirwa ku polisi y'e Busia nga polisi bwegenda maaso n'okunoonyereza.
Okyali ku NTV kusaawa emu eddakiika 15 ze ziiseeko kaseera kano katuumulemu katono ddala tovaawo tudda n'ekitundu ekyokubiri.
This is NTV.
Nazeziise kusaawa emu okyali ku NTV kusaawa emu. Mawulire amalala abamasaba okuva kuno ne ku muliraano e Kenya bakuŋŋaanidde emutoto mu kifo ky'ebyobuwangwa okutongoza sizoni y'okusala embalu ey'omwaka guno. Omukolo guno ogukolebwa buli luvannyuma lw'emyaka 2 gwasombodde bannabyabufuzi b'ekitundu era nga gwetabiddwako ne omukuuka omukulembeze w'abamasaba ow'ennono. Ku mukolo guno abantu bakoze fujjo omwabadde n'okuziimuula ebyobutebenkevu.
Omukolo gw'omwaka guno gwetabiddwako abantu bangi ddala nga ne bannabyabufuzi ab'amannya abakuno okuva e Kenya tebalutumiddwa mwana. Abavubuka bazinya amazina katono nga bagwa mu biwato era omukolo baatuse ekiseera ne bagufuula ogw'ebyobufuzi. Obweddaboolesa akabonero k'ekibiina kya FDC nga bwe baleekaanira waggulu. Baaganye bannabyabufuzi abalala okwogerako gye bali okujja kakulira oludda oluvuganya gavumenti n'andala amafaabi. omukolo bagucyankalanyizza era n'okuyingira wano tebayise mu buuma obwateereddwa okukebera abantu bwe basinziza ab'ebyokwerinda amaanyi. Abamasaba okuva e Kenya bajaganyiza wamu ne bannaabwe abaakuno anti wano we wali entabiro yaabwe mu kifo ky'obuwangwa ekyateekebwawo ekiyitibwa Mutoto. Abavubuka abasoba mu mutwalo gumu be basuubira okukomolebwa sizoni eno. Okukomolebwa mu Bamasaaba ke kabonero akafuula omwana omulenzi omusajja.
Ebyo bivudde eri mu kibuga Mbale. Wadde Hillary Clinton minisita wa America w'ensonga z'ebweru yakyaluse famire y'omwana omuwala yatumibwa erinnya lye mu mwaka gwa 1997 lwe yakyala kuno nakati bakyalina ekirooto ekyokumusisinkana n'okubawa bibagamba nti yabibasuubiza. Clinton lwe yakyala kuno nebba aliko omudaala gw'omukyalo omu gwe yalambula ng'ali lubuto era n'amusaba omwana gwali bazadde amutuume Hillary Clinton bw'anaabanga muwala. Kino kyatuukirira era omwana eyazaalibwa n'atuumibwa Namale Hillary Clinton era ng'ono yasinga okwagala kulaba ku munne bwe bafaanaganya erinnya.
Emyaka 15 emabega mu lubuto lw'omukyalo ono Victoria Nambi mwalimu omwana nga wa myezi 7. Ku kyalo kyabwe nnyo bajjwe nakati gye babeera ekisangibwe bwayise kawempe. Hillary Clinton nga mu kiseera ekyo yakyala kuno nebba eyali President wa America Bill Clinton mu mwaka gwa 1997 yabakyalira ng'ali wamu ne mukyala Janet Museveni.
Angamba nti kale wanaabo omuwala ojja kunyamba omutume ki Hillary.
Emyezi ebiri olwayitawo nga Hillary Clinton yazzeeyo mu America, Nambi yazaala omwana w'omuggalanda era n'amutuuma Namale Hillary Null Clinton. Naye Namale Hillary bwe yali tannazaalibwa, Hillary Clinton yagambibwa okuba yali yasuubiza maama we ebirungi bingi.
Omukyalo yajja ne mulaga ku bintu bye nnali nkola ka grocery kange, ne mulaga n'ennyumba yange yali ku wall plate ngennemye okola ki okumaliriza nangamba I will complete it.
Naye ebbanga bwe lyagenda nga liyitawo nga tewali kiva mu Amerika, Nambi yagezaako okulondoola obuyambi kubanga kati yali awezezza abaana 7 naye n'alemererwa.
Ne tugenda eyo ku American Embassy ne tufunayo documents natwala wakatenda lutu.
I went with her to the MP of Kawempe. It was like it's hard. I went with the deputy mayor. By then she was called Florence Namayanja. She was like it's still hard. So we gave up.
Twayogeddeko ne Hillary wa Uganda kati aweze egy'obukulu 15.
Kakati omuyita anti. Mwita anti olw'ensonga nti no erinnya yalimba nga sinaana akuzaalibwa ate ne mama najja nga bujja ngamba tino inakuyitibwa lino erinnya wali yakutumiwa anti.
Erinnya nno teryamuwa mirembe ng'akula.
Waliwo abakaddamu obukatunda era nga bo bampita Hillary baliwo omwaka kaseera bampita Hillary naye ng'era waliwo abantu bali nga bagamba kiki biki nga bakwogera how comes that you are kijja kitango oli muddugavu ngate anti omuzungu.
Bano baagala Hillary Clinton eyamaliriza obugenyi bwe kuno olunaku lw'eggulu atuukirize bye yabasuubiza. Yadde nga Namale Hillary Null Clinton ayagala obuyambi, kyasinga okwetaaga kwe kumulabako.
Yinginga omuntu badde mwagala.
Essuubi ly'okumulabako lyaza olunaku lw'eggulu naye ate Hillary Clinton ow'omu Amerika yeerabidde akaana akaali tekannazaalibwa mu lubuto lwa Nambi. Yayogedde ate ku Bill Clinton wa Uganda abeera ejjinja eyatuumibwa erinnya lino okuva ku bbaawe Bill Clinton kwolwo eyali omukulembeze wa Amerika.
My husband was just back in Uganda a week ago and he met Bill Clinton, who's now about 12 years old. And he's healthy and he's handsome and he's doing well in school. That's what we want for every boy and girl in Uganda.
Hillary Clinton yabadde mu Uganda naye ebyembi bano tebaasobodde kumulabako maaso ku maaso okuggyako ku TV. Kino wabula Namale Hillary yagambye tekijja kumulobera kusigala ng'alowooza ku lunaku lwali musisinkana. Florence Naluyimba, NTV ku ssaawa emu.
Webale nnyo Florence Naluyimba. Mu birowoozo byammwe olwaleero tubuuza oba osobola okugenda ewaabwe wa mukyalawo n'osabayo ebintu bye waayo nga akwanjula mu bakadde singa muba mwawukanye singa obadde ggwe.
Singa obadde ggwe. Mu mboozi yaffe eya singa obadde ggwe nze Dini Lubowa Saava leero tugamba nti ddala singa obadde ng'olina mukyalawo oba omwami ne musoowagana omu ku mmwe n'asiba ebintu n'agenda nabyo oba bibadde bya mulala osobola okugenda ewaabwe w'omuntu oyo n'obanjayo ebintu byo.
Twawukanyamu byawukanye bwe mba nsigadde n'abaana be
ekiseera kino abakyala tuno bantugenda n'abaana kati bwe ngenda n'abaana bwe guba mufaliso bwe kiba nti ntute masuuka ago simuwa mpozi nga sowaani ng'ezo ne mutolerako naye ate kati nze nange mba njagala nsigale n'omufaliso ne suuka mbika abaana be kati naye naddayo newankubadde aba yansasula oba teyansasula ebyo byengenze nabyo sibimuddiza kuba tuba twakola ffenna obudde bwe mmala nga ndi mufumbo mba sisobola kwekolera mba nkolera ye
kisinziira nyiza okuba nga namuzaalamu omwana naye ate ng'engeri ng'omanya abakazi batera kukola ki naaba nga akuzaalidde omwana ate otuuka ng'akuze naga omwana nga siiwo naye kati nganze sibikimayo era sooka nebimulekera nenkola byange
anti nnyinza okubitwala olw'ebbanga lye mba mmaze naye nti senga mu myaka egyo oba mmaze naye emyaka 4 oba 5 mba mmaze okubanga nange nakola ebyange biringa ebibye naye olw'okuba mba ntudde wuwe ninakolerera ye nange mba nina okutwala eyo ebenga entandikwa yange naye bw'aba azze n'abibanja obutakalubiriza abeewaffe bayita babi muwe ebintu bye n'atambula nabyo n'agenda bwe mba nagenda n'abaana be n'abaana be n'agenda nabo
omukyala nabanga anobye n'ebintu byange abula ekyobugagga n'akindekera nga ndekedde abaana nga oba bano oba basatu sobola otoba n'abaana be ne tuzzaawo ebintu kababeere bato sobola obasobeza kuba emikono abatagenze nagyo sobola okulwanirira ebintu nembizzaawo omukyala n'agendayo tubirawa bulijjo abakyala bano ba mu ngeri bwetyo oluusi tomiinamu na mwana wadde ki naye era n'oddawo n'oyiiya duniya
ne baba bageze n'abaana nga bange sitawaana kutawaana
oba olowooza nti anaakomawo n'abizza
ne bwakomawo ne bwatakomawo kubanga fugano yatukolera abasajja tuli okukola kati ogenda obanja ni taata we maama we
abeewaabwe oba naye yennyini
muzeeyi otandika kukola bukozi bipyawo
nze omukazi bwagenda ewaabwe ng'atutte ebintu byange naye nga ndese ndi mulamu nga tansiize bulwadde okugeza nga siriimu kabooto ng'enziko bye bisobola okumalamu amaanyi nandekera amaanyi gange nze nsobola okubimulekera ebintu n'abikola ki ne bw'aba nga ndese ansiize obulwadde ebintu byange mbinonayo ninsobola obitunda nejjamu akasente akandabirira mu bulwadde wammanyi yabansiize ebiki ebirwadde bye
omulamwa tubadde tugamba nti ddala singa oba ne muno ne musoowagana n'asiba ebintu n'abitwala osobola okgenda n'obibanjayo ewaabwe gy'abaddukidde ng'agenze oba omwesonyiwa n'ogamba nti kanfenensi nga bwagindekedde nze Dini Lubo Wasaava ate nate era tujja kuddamu tuteese ku miramu egy'enjawulo mwebale nnyo mwenna abateesezza
singa yasinga singa sesiimye singa obadde gwe
singa obadde gwe eddakiika ebula 3 zokka okuwera 1.5 katumbulemu katono nnyo tovaawo bwe tukomawo byamizannyo.
Welcome to Abdul Jabari's.
This is NTV.
No one feels the motherland like we do. So tune in every day at 6 p.m. and Fridays from 11 p.m. for the best in homegrown music. Only on NTV, the station that celebrates local music talent.
This is NTV.
yokka ebulayo okuwera emu n'ekitundu mu mizannyo olwaleero Munnayuganda Dorcas Nzikuru naye awanduse mu mpaka za Olympics eziyindira mu kibuga London oluvannyuma lw'okumalira mu kifo ekyomusanvu mu mpaka z'abakazi ez'okubuuka emisanvu. Nzikuru yagenda mu mpaka zino ng'akiikidde gavumenti ensingo olw'obutafa ku baddusi nga beetegekera empaka zino ye Munnayuganda ow'omukaaga okuwandulwa kw'abo 16 abagenda okukiikirira Uganda mu mpaka za Olympics ez'omwaka guno.
Nzikuru addukidde mu kibinja ekyokusatu amalidde mu kifo kya musanvu n'awanduka mu mpaka z'omwaka guno. Mita 13 ez'okubuuka emisanvu Munnayuganda ono aziddukidde mu ddakiika 9 n'obusekonda 31. Nzikuru ye Munnayuganda ow'omukaaga okuwanduka mu mpaka zino. Ekibinja Nzikuru mwaddukidde kiwanguddwa Omu-Ethiopia Hiwot Ayalewi n'addirirwa Yulia Zaripova owa Russia ate Mase Wanjiku Njoroge Munnakenya n'akwata ekyokusatu. Ekiro kya leero Moses Kipsulo naye wakuyingira ensiike.
Akadde katuweddeko mwebale nnyo kwekuumirangako NTV era tusiima bwongerwa. Farida Nakazibwe mbagaliza weekend ennungi okutusola enkya. Bye bye.
Coming up.
This is NTV. This is NTV. is NTV. This is NTV.
This week on Profiles.
I managed to save up some money and I snuck myself into a small factory in Kenya where they're filling by hand and they were filtering water and they were supplying the American Armed Forces in Somalia at the time. So I thought, this is not that difficult, I'm sure I can do this. So I did some research and I got some equipment and I rented a place from Kiwa in Nakawa and we drilled a borehole and I started the bottled water industry. You know?
It has been said that everyone understands that water is essential to life, but many are only just now beginning to grasp how essential it is to everything in life: food, energy, transportation, nature, leisure, identity, culture, and virtually all the products used on a daily basis. Today on Profiles, we sit down with Mahmud Somani, the creator and managing director of Rwenzori Beverage Company Limited. Rwenzori Beverage Company Limited specializes in the processing and packaging of bottled mineral water. But before we get into all that, let's find out more about the man behind the company.
My name is Mahmud Somani. I'm part of the Somani family. We are from Kabale. I was born in 1961 in Kabale Hospital. Then, during the first 10 years of my life, I was in Kabale. I was going to Kabale Preparatory School, KPS. And then when Idi Amin came, when he threw us out, I ended up in England, in London for 6 months. And my father went to Canada. And I ended up living in Vancouver. And I lived in Vancouver from 1973 to 1986. And during that time, I finished my primary, my high school, and my university.
Having grown up in Kabale, which is in southwest Uganda, Somani does have many fond memories of this beautiful mountainous area with its many small lakes.
Kabale is a beautiful place. It's still a beautiful place. People are still very friendly. In those days, it was still, things like I remember when we got electricity. I remember when the old telephones with the wine dials, and I remember it was just a good life. It was a good small community life, you know. We could walk around in the streets. Nobody bothered you as children. We used to go fishing. We used to walk 3-4 miles. We used to go to Lake Bunyoni. We used to go to Kisoro. I used to go with my dad. He used to have a couple of mines there on the way to Kisoro. Then we always used to travel to Kampala in holidays. We used to go to Barara. We used to go hunting, you know. It's very, very fond memories I had of Uganda. My mother was a homemaker. She was at home all the time. Eventually, she became a hairdresser when we left Uganda. And my father was involved in many, many businesses. I think when they came to Uganda, they were very, very poor. I think in the 20s, my grandfather came to Tanzania. And then they sort of kept moving westward. And my father is born in Bukoba. And then I think in the late 30s or something like that, they came into Kabale. And my father has remained in Kabale and worked as a teenager in somebody's shop. And their mother used to grind spices and used to sell peanuts on the street, and G-nuts as you call them, and do other things like that. And eventually he made his own money. And he was involved in a lot of businesses. We had a hardware shop. I think he had a textile shop at one time. Then he had insurance business. He used to sell cars. Eventually we had a farm on the Mitiana Mubende Road, about 15, 18 kilometers from here, where we had dairy farm, sugarcane, jaggery, coffee, and they were experimenting, I think, in the late 60s with cardamom and exotic spices. Eventually, I think they got together and they had some partners, and they developed the Metropole House now, which is in Kampala.
As children, we come to learn how the world works by observing and imitating those around us. For Somani, his father set a high standard right from the beginning.
You're always in the house, you're always talking business, you're always thinking of new ideas. You know, at the age of 6, 7, 8 years old, you understand what a mortgage is, what a loan is, those kind of things, you know. I always used to see my dad working late doing bookkeeping, and I used to envy him that one day I'm going to be like this. During high school, or actually primary school, which is here P7, I think P7 and S1, I was delivering newspapers after school. And after that, I started working in my uncle's shoe store. We had a shoe store there, and I used to sell shoes to ladies like you. And it was the toughest job I had, you know. Selling something, especially shoes, to women was a very difficult thing. You come with a friend who comes with a mother, and the friend likes them, but the mother doesn't like them, and can't decide on the price, can't decide on the color. So I learned my sales technique in the shoe shop. And then after that, I got a job delivering Chinese food, and I used to work at night delivering Chinese food and go to school in the day. And then as I was getting into my college years, I decided I wanted to become a mechanic, and so I decided to get in Canada, they get paid very well, mechanics. So I became an apprentice. So we had technical schools I had to attend, and so I was busy all the time. And I made some money because while I was working apprenticing as a mechanic, I used to buy old cars, repair them, and sell them. So I made a little bit of money on that. And then my sister got a job at Avis Rent-A-Car. And I was working I think I was working at that time, I was working in a motel as a desk clerk. And they're paying me very little money. But the good thing about doing that was it was a very small motel. So there wasn't much activity, so I could do my homework there at night. And then I didn't like the job, and a friend of mine was working in a printing shop, and he got me a job at night printing in a printing shop, running blueprints, and it was a better paying job. But it was tough work, and I couldn't do homework. So after that, my sister got me a job at Avis Rent-A-Car, and because it was a unionized job, it paid quite well. So I only needed to work about 20 hours a week while I was at university. And in the winter season, it wasn't very busy, so I'd have to wash 8 or 10 cars, and then I'd be done for the day, and I'd have like 3-4 hours to do homework and stuff.
While Somani was traveling the globe, his family had resettled in Uganda. In 1986, President Yoweri Museveni overthrew Dr. Milton Obote's government. Calm and some sense of order was gradually being restored in the country. Somani, his son came back home.
I took a year off, I'd saved up some money, and my dad gave me a grad present. He gave me a ticket from Vancouver to Southeast Asia, to Hong Kong and Bangkok. And I went for a few months, but I enjoyed myself so much just being on my own and being independent, and I managed to stay a whole year. I ended up 3 months in the Philippines, 3 or 4 months in Thailand, 3 months in India, a month and a half in China. And then I came back to Vancouver in 1987, and my sister got married, and then she says to me, my dad said to me, he says, you know, come back to Uganda. I'm back in Uganda now, and things are settling down, and Museveni's coming to power, and there's a lot of opportunity. So I was kind of eager to see Uganda as well, you know, it's my birthplace.
Coming up after the break.
For the whole of 1993 and 1994, I lost money. And I was starting to doubt myself, and was not being very confident about what I was doing. But luckily I had Kazinga Channel that was making a little money, and I could lend money to Renzori all the time to keep it running.
This is NTV.
The mountain gorilla is considered endangered species, with only about 720 mountain gorillas left in the world. And these live within 4 national parks split into 2 regions: Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park, Mahinga Gorilla National Park in Uganda, Volcanoes National Park in Rwanda, and Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The gorilla is the largest of all living primates and has a robust build with long muscular arms, a massive chest, and broad hands and feet. It has longer and darker hair than other species, allowing it to live and travel at high altitudes where temperatures drop to below 0 degrees Celsius. The gorillas can be identified by nose prints unique to each individual.
This is NTV.
Today we are in Namavu, where the new Rwenzori Beverage Company sits on lush and exquisite property. You could almost forget that you're on factory premises as you take in the beauty and serenity that surrounds you. But Mahmud Somani did not build his company overnight. It is a process that has taken him more than a decade.
There was always shortages of things in Uganda, and it was really frustrating for me to come from a first world country to come to a third world country and find out, and a real third world, you know, like coming out of war and so many problems we had. Like power would go, like I said earlier, and water would go on and off. And it was coming close to my birthday one day, and I remember there was no beer and there was no soda and everything was rationed. And I told my dad, I can't deal with this. He says, well, why don't you go visit your friends in Kenya? Then take a break for a month and come back. So I went at Christmas time, I went. And I noticed the tourism industry in Kenya was really booming. And I noticed the tourists, the rich Kenyans, and the rich Indians, expatriate Indians or the local Indians there, they were all consuming bottled water at restaurants and that. And I thought about it, I said, this is not a bad idea, but I don't think Uganda is ready for this yet. And then in 1992, when I went to Canada, and then we lived in a city called Vancouver. And Vancouver is it's a deep water harbor with a river to the south and mountains to the north. Now these are very high mountains, they're 14,000 feet, you know, about 6,000 meters or so. I'm walking down the high street, like a Bond Street in Vancouver, it's Robson Street. And I'm looking in the summertime, and I'm watching all these people sitting there, you know, these half-naked Muzungus in their shorts, and they're drinking bottled water, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is like selling ice to Eskimos, you know? It's nuts. These guys are buying bottled water. Now, if this is working here and it's happening in Kenya, I'm sure this can happen in Uganda, because you can't even drink the tap water. Remember those days you couldn't. Even today, I'm not sure if you can. But so I came back and I told my dad about it. This is what I want to do. And he looked at me and he says, what, you want to sell bottled water, like water in a bottle, to Ugandans? Ugandan water? I said, yes. He said, what are you, crazy? Get out of my office, you know? Started laughing. He couldn't believe that I wanted to do something so ridiculous, so stupid. So I said, okay, he's not going to lend me the money. Let me go look elsewhere. And at that time, I was banking with Standard Chartered Bank for Kazinga Channel. And my credit manager was Richard Biarugaba, who is now the MD of Nile Bank, or he's worked Nile Barclays. And I went to Richard and I said, Richard, this is what I want to do. And Richard just about fell off his chair, you know. And he says, you know, Mahmud, go find something else to do. You know, come back when you have a better project. And he just kept laughing and laughing and laughing and just chased me out of his office. So I managed to save up some money. And I snuck myself into a small factory in Kenya where they're filling by hand and they were filtering water, and they were supplying the American Armed Forces in Somalia at the time. So I thought, this is not that difficult. I'm sure I can do this. So I did some research and I got some equipment, and I rented a place from Kiwa in Nakawa, and we drilled a borehole, and I started the bottled water industry, you know. For the whole of 1993 and 1994, I lost money. And I was starting to doubt myself and was not being very confident about what I was doing. But luckily I had Kazinga channel that was making a little money, and I could lend money to Rwenzori all the time to keep it running. Then I realized that either I have to close it and find another line, or I really have to struggle and work for it. But while all this was happening, unfortunately for people in Rwanda, they had that genocide, that whole genocide thing happened. Bodies started coming up in the lake, if you remember back then. And a lot of people here got wary of drinking tap water, boiling it and drinking it. So they started drinking bottled water. And then since then, I've never looked back. The business has been growing at a very good rate. It's continued to grow.
Happy to show us around, Somani gave us a grand tour of Rwenzori Beverage Company. Bottling water begins at the source, which can either be a spring or a well. And the next step is for the water to be filtered through multi-barrier sources. The water source of Rwenzori mineral water is at Namamvi. It is a 120-meter underground aquifer. An aquifer is a body of permeable rock that can contain or transmit underground water. And the next step is for the water to be filtered through multi-barrier sources, which could include source monitoring, reverse osmosis, ultraviolet light, distillation, and ozonization. Here are some recommendations about bottled water. 1. Choose a well-known brand of drinking water. Large companies like Rwenzori generally employ the most effective purification processes and have the best quality control. Buy bottled water from a store that sells a lot of water and thus has water on its shelf for the shortest time. Store bottled water in a cool place. Never allow stored water to be in direct sunlight. Sunlight increases some microbial growth and allows more chemicals from the container to enter the water. And lastly, try not to drink from the bottle. You are transferring millions of microorganisms from your mouth to the water each time you do this. With the increase in population and the careless disregard for protecting our water sources, we should be more concerned with the quality of our water. More offices and homes are opting for bottled water. Did you know that there are different types of bottled water? There is spring water that comes from an underground formation and must flow naturally to the surface through a sanitary borehole. Purified drinking water. This is water that has been processed to remove chlorine and a majority of dissolved solids like magnesium. Naturally sparkling water. This water is naturally carbonated from a spring or a well. Soda water. This is medicinal mineral water from Germany. Mineral water. This water is typically from a spring and contains dissolved solids like calcium, magnesium, sodium, and bicarbonates. Rwenzori Beverage Company was the pioneer in Uganda when it came to bottled water. Since then, a number of bottled water products have hit the market. But this does have its downside: pollution. Empty bottles are carelessly disposed on the road, washed up by the rain into the trenches, and ending up in the swamps and lakes. What is Rwenzori Company doing to combat this pollution?
Bottles, plastics, worldwide are a problem, big problem. What I did to preempt any action by the government to punish me for polluting the environment, I worked very closely with NEMA, and we worked very closely with Ministry of Local Government and City Council. We organized, I got a grant from the Dutch government, and I had to sponsor the project myself, and I had to put in quite a bit of money to set up a recycling plant. Now what happens is, what we've done is we've put collection centers all over the country, and we collect bottles, water bottles, and things like Vim containers, and all the jerry cans, and all the caps, and we grind it up into small flakes, and we separate it, and we pack it in bags, and then we export it to China. And the Chinese are making, from the bottles, they're making fiber. So they make cotton polyester, they make carpets, they make seat belts, strapping, you know, those really difficult to open battery packets, all that stuff is made out of that recycled stuff.
But Somani doesn't just target the Ugandan market, but East Africa as well. And there seems nowhere else to go but up. Rwenzori Beverage Company also makes containers for a number of big and small companies like Samona. Coming up after the break.
And I think it takes a long time to learn a business. And I think if you get into businesses related to your business and stick to a core business, this is where I think you'll succeed. And look, in my case, I only have the 2 businesses.
This is NTV.
We can all learn a lot from those who have excelled in their careers. If we emulate their principles and their values, we too can go on to succeed and even go further than they. What does Mahmud Somani consider to be the keys of success?
And I think it takes a long time to learn a business. And I think if you get into businesses related to your business and stick to a core business, this is where I think you'll succeed. And look, in my case, I only have the 2 businesses. That's all I do, actually, anyway. So I think that's one thing. And the other thing is management. You know, try not to borrow too much money. Yeah, a lot of people borrow a lot of money and they get themselves in trouble. And slow growth is another one. Grow slowly. There's no rush. You know? Money will come, but slowly.
Despite the large numbers of graduates being churned out of higher institutions of learning, Somani believes that there is a gap in the workforce that needs to be filled.
I think, I may be wrong, but I think a lot of people here in Uganda and the universities, they tend to go for business degrees, computer IT degrees. They want to do, a lot of them want to become accountants and finance guys and marketing guys and salespeople and all that. I think we have plenty of those. I think there's a big need for middle management in specialized fields. For example, when I need a quality controller in this factory, I really struggle to find one, a good quality controller. Yeah. The other place we have a lot of problems with is technical skills. You know, like electronic engineers, very difficult to find a good one. Good electricians, good wiremen electricians, hard to find. We usually end up bringing them in from Chambogo or somebody that we know, and then bring them in, and then we have people coming up from South Africa or UK, and then we train them here in-house. And I think that on the vocational side, the technical skills are lacking.
He considers his family, that is his wife and his 3 children, to be his greatest achievements. But in spite of the challenges he may have met in life, he doesn't wallow in regret over the past.
Regret is a waste of time and emotion. You can't help what you do. Sometimes you do it and you regret it. Move on. I think that's the way to look forward. I read one book by Richard Branson called Losing My Virginity. I found it very interesting. There's another one, Bill Gates' book called Speed of Light. Business at the Speed of Light or something like that. Business, but more than that, I enjoy reading magazines like The Economist and Newsweek and things like that. Role models. Yeah, my dad, for sure. Yeah, very much so. Day one when I came to Uganda and I decided I want to start a business, he sat me down in front of him and he says, it's taken me 50 years to build a name for our family in this country. You will not cheat anybody, you will not write a bad check, you will not owe anybody any money, and you will uphold the family name that I've built, and if you don't want to do that, and if you can't do that, then you better leave the country.
Thomas Scott said, "A man cannot leave a better legacy to the world than a well-educated family." Mahmud Somani had one friend in particular who has inspired him.
I have a friend in South Africa who comes up all the time. He's a white guy. He comes up here and he works with our guys here. And every time I come up here, he's always teaching them things. Actually, in fact, there's two of them, Dennis and Kelvin. And I asked Kelvin one day, I said, you know, you come up to Uganda and you always tell me how Ugandans are really eager to learn and they're easy to work with compared to the guys in South Africa who are much more, not bitter, but more resilient or more, what's the word, uncooperative. He says, well, your guys sit here and work with me till 7 o'clock at night. If I tell him to climb up there and do this and this and that, he's really eager to do it. And I said, so you enjoy that? He said, yes. He says, because when I die, and I've taught 100 people some lives have improved, I've left a legacy. So this is the kind, and I thought about it. I said, this is a really good thing to do. Just like my dad is bringing me up to be an upright, moral person. I want to do that with my children as well, and I also want to leave behind, if you can help someone and they can improve their lives, you know, just one family or 2 families or 20 families, you know. If everybody did that, we wouldn't need the UN and the World Food Programme, right?
Edition of Profiles. Do join us again next week for another inspirational episode. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
This is NTV. 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 This is NTV.
Today, on the Art and Design Show, we meet an artist who has made art his lifelong dream. And in My Wedding, we look at the role of the best man and the maid of honor. These and more stories coming up. Last week on the show, we featured an artist who is an expert in the intricate art of glass painting. Today's artist another kind of art called printmaking. Right from the moment we first met Edson Mugalu, we were overwhelmed by his enthusiasm and inner fire for his work. A fire which has been burning in his soul since he was a child, surrounded and enthralled by nature.
I was around 10, 9. Then I realized I had to use more books being covered by my sketches and colored pencils. And all alone in my class, it's me only who had a collection of colored pencils in the whole class.
Mugalu's fascination with art even defied school rules and regulations. There was no doubt in his mind what course his life would take. He was an artist through and through.
My primary level classes, we were introduced to painting and sketching from nature. We could be taken away from class and we sketch what we see. So in so doing, we gained that from young stages, and the high school was also offering painting and art. So I could lock myself in the art room the whole day and skip other subjects because of art.
Though others may regard his work as semi-abstract, Mugalu describes his art as impressionism. It is an expression of his inner feelings, absorbed from nature around him, feelings which blossom out mostly through the theme of water and color.
There is one important theme, and it's water in me. Water drives me a lot. Just mere looking at water by the seaside or standing by the seaside, I consider myself, I don't want to leave the place. And then sitting in a boat and sailing, or looking at a fisherman holding a net, fishing net, then I see maybe I was supposed to be a fisherman, but I'm an artist. And then red colors, it's just like I can show you, it's a change of temperature. If the temperature is too cold, instead I can paint blue colors. But now you can see Uganda is hot, and everywhere people are screaming, it's hot, apart from outside countries. So it's hot, and I'm driven by nature, and I'm also feeling it hot in the brain, and the brain is producing hot colors.
So how does the fiery Mugalu approach his task?
Before I even reach the canvas, or I bring the canvas before me, I already imagined the painting finished in my mind. I can even imagine the piece finished when I'm lying on my bed relaxing, or I can be reading a book and it inspires me, then I can imagine, and then imagine that and bring it back into my art, and then imagine it finished.
In spite of all the work he has produced, Mugalu's mind always lingers over that one piece of brilliance which captured his heart and kept it.
That painting was just a mother and child painting, and this inspiration, actually I got it from the slum area in Kamocha. I found a mom sleeping, and in so doing, she was lying on the veranda. Guess what a baby could sleep on? Can a baby sleep on that cement? So what she did, she acted as a mattress, and the baby slept on her belly like this as she was lying. And as I was passing by, I noticed that mom with that baby, and I was like, oh my God, is this how our moms love us and they protect us? They protect us this big? So I was like, oh, they deserve a painting which can last there forever and ever.
Another painting which greatly impressed Mugalu, so much so that he kept coming back to it from 2006 to 2007, is one inspired by watching giraffes and forming a connection with the human being.
At 2006, I began by painting just a portrait with a long neck borrowed from the giraffe, and then the human figure. Actually, the human figure is inspired by the Mona Lisa, the famous Mona Lisa painting, which I married with the African shape of ladies, beautiful African ladies we have here. And then I married it with the Mona Lisa. And in so doing, I achieved that portrait, which I repeat a lot for identity purposes, and it keeps being the similar portrait which comes out, but with a long neck from the African giraffe.
Mugalu also engages in printmaking. Print art making is the process of making artworks by printing, normally on paper, a process that is capable of producing multiples of the same piece, which is called a print or impression. Prints are created from a single origin surface, known technically as a matrix. Common types of matrices include plates of metal, usually copper or zinc, for engraving and etching, stone used for lithography, blocks of wood for woodcuts, linoleum for lino cuts, and fabric plates for screen printing. Is the earliest printmaking technique and the only one traditionally used in the Far East. It was probably first developed as a means of printing patterns on cloth, and by the 5th century was used in China for printing text and messages on paper. According to Mugalu, printmaking also starts with an image in the mind.
First of all, you need to be with a sketch in your mind, because it's an artwork. It's not just a print made for money, it's an artwork. You need to be with a sketch, you sketch it down, and then you need to be with a cutter and a scooper. A cutter cuts, a scooper scoops that line out. And then you need to be with a roller. You roll on top of that board after scooping out. You roll the colors you want, you stamp them on paper. And that's it. By pulling off the ply, you'll be seeing the artwork already there. And you can continue doing that similar process with the same sketch in several, on other papers, so that you get more copies to serve the people.
Mugalu sees art as a medium through which he can not only share his inner feelings, but also promote his home country.
When I was painting for myself alone, because now I'm painting for myself and for the world, so we're just sharing. At first, when I was painting for myself alone, I would prefer painting things that have been disturbing me a lot in my mind, scratching me to bring them out. And then I could do that, and I could paint like 2 or 3 pieces, and the brain is empty. But now, here I am, I need to paint and fill the world with art.
This is NTV.
Today on the Art and Design Show, we take a look at photography and Venus's new revolutionary hair care range.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
These and more stories coming up.
Shut up! I'm killing!
Photography as an invention was a joint result of combining several technical discoveries. But as a usable process, it dates back to the 1820s with development of chemical photography. The first permanent photograph was an image produced in 1826 by a French inventor. At this stage of its inception, it was mainly used by scientists, but over the years, photography has been used in many fields like security, entertainment, commercial advertising, and art. Today on the Art and Design Show, we bring you an exhibition at the Makerere Art Gallery, where photography has been used to play a role in conflict resolution. In February 2008, 3 non-governmental organizations joined efforts to run a project aiming to support intercultural exchange to create conflict awareness in the youth. Rainbow House of Hope Uganda, Conflict Resolution by Youth Uganda and Commit to Partnership, Berlin. A photography project dubbed Capturing Concerns, Capturing Perspectives was implemented, in which the young people from Berlin and Kampala participated. The youth were asked to take pictures of things which they conceived to be the results of oppression and liberation in their daily lives. The result? An exhibition presenting the collection of photographic images concerning young people's perceptions of conflict within their social environments.
We wanted to hear what are things that oppress young people or what liberate young people, because we find it really important to look at the causes of a conflict, and through taking a photograph in your own social environment there is a good chance that you can think about issues that you maybe not be able you want, and therefore become aware of what is your problem, what are the conflicts, and find a solution. And the positive side is liberation, what makes you feel relieved.
In this regard, photography offers each artist the chance to think about and therefore understand moments of oppression and liberation on an individual level.
Every viewer can see cultural differences, like some things are the same, some things are different. It's a mutual understanding that we want to achieve, and that's on one level, that's the intercultural level, because a picture can say more, like emotions are hardly expressed through words, and some people speak Luganda, some speak German, they couldn't talk, but through seeing their pictures you can see an emotion and you can understand. And I think for having a peaceful society, like mutual being together, I think understanding is so important. That's one step. The other I said before, it's if you want to work on your own conflicts, you have to become aware of what is the cause of your conflicts, and through thinking about your own conflicts, you can maybe solve your own conflicts.
Sharing the experiences in these images leads to a broader understanding of each other's situation, which is of great importance for intercultural exchange. The pictures from Berlin were taken by youth from different schools and youth clubs in January 2008.
Both pictures of the Berlin Wall. Berlin was separated until 1989, and this is how you can still see today. This is a bit where the wall is still closed. You can go through. I mean, it's all like it's not a wall that's separating anymore. It's more like a memorial. It's still standing there, but for this young person who took part, it's still a symbol of oppression that happened to Germany for a period of time. A city was divided, and liberation just follows out of it. This is a memorial where you can see, you can now walk through. The wall is cut through.
The pictures from Kampala were taken by youth who participated in the mutual project on conflict awareness and conflict resolution abilities among youth.
I mean, these photographs are not about artistic quality, they are about expression, and I think even for professional photographers, this is something that's really important to be able to express yourself, to show something that's important to you, and I think this is the quality of these images.
This is NTV.
And today on Fashionista, as Uganda's search for its beauty queen moves all the way from Fort Portal to Lira Town, we bring you the range of oil fashion designs which graced Lira Hotel's catwalk.
You make some noise for our 12 contestants tonight. It's been a long week for them. They've done a great job. Make some noise for our contestants.
As the girls individually took to the catwalk, it was evident that Alice Kimize's pink creation was not only designed to flatter the girls' graceful young bodies, but also to bring out the ebonite beauty of their faces.
This is none other than Audrey Nape, who likes to swim, listen to music, she likes to travel and to read.
And when it came to African wear, the clothes did a great job of emphasizing the African elegance.
And that is how creative dress.
And the unique, to give credit to the word creative wear, the girls displayed a wide range of outfits. It is not only trees which actually wear leaves. From a plant which is a staple food from central Uganda, more leaves. A new use was found for the polythene sack material, and this time round, not for packaging goods.
DJ, I mean, do you have that brick and less song? Please.
You feel me? Thoughts of you just keep consuming me. My head and my head talk to it, but now I see that you're not mine, and I was wrong to think you change it. I wish you could stay with me and not stay. I wish I could change your mind and make you stay. 'Cause I'll give anything to hear you say.
Thank you very much, DJ. And thank you very much, Halima.
Well, my friends, the time is raise the roof and have some.
And to crown it all, a dazzling display of evening wear.
Let the music play on. Everybody sing, everybody dance. Lose yourself in wild romance. We're going to party, come on, fiesta, forever.
The fashions from Miss Uganda Lira chapter have brought us to the end of today's art and design show. See you next week.
People dancing all in the street, rhythm all in their feet. Life is good, wild and sweet.
This is NTV. This is NTV.
Today on Showcase Uganda, we visit one of Africa's greenest cities and explore its abundant sights. In 1995, the Ugandan government launched an ecotourism initiative. The goal was to ensure that Uganda got a share in the burgeoning domestic and international tourism business. At the same time, the government was determined to protect Uganda's environment and culture. Ugandan society is still predominantly rural, with traditional customs and lifestyles flourishing. Uganda's population consists of 40 tribes with a vast repertoire of styles, rhythms and languages, all intrinsically linked. And what better way to begin to understand and experience this than by journeying through and showcasing the variety of attractions Uganda's capital city Kampala has to offer. Kampala is Uganda's capital city and derives its name from the Luganda word Kasozika Impala, meaning hills of antelopes. It is said that in the 19th century, Buganda kings used to graze impala on the slopes of a hill near the Mengo Palace. Kampala is one of the greenest cities in Africa, with a beauty that gives way to astounding views of surrounding countryside. Straddled across the lush green hills of this tropical landscape, Kampala is the center of commercial life and the seat of government. Currently host to approximately 1.5 million people, Kampala is a fast-growing city, a vibrant modern metropolis that still manages to retain its distinctive African character. Nakasero Market, located in downtown Kampala, is renowned for its fresh food and fruit and is frequented by both residents and visitors due to its proximity to the central business district as well as attractive prices. The daily hustle and bustle of the marketplace show Kampala's ability to grow and develop, yet retain much of its customary charm. Five kilometers from the city center on the Kampala-Hoima Road is Kasubi Hill, a royal palace enclosure first built in 1881. The Kasubi tombs, also known as the Sekabakas tombs, are the royal tombs where 4 former Kabakas or kings of Buganda are buried. The 4 royal tombs lie within the Muzibu Azala Mpanga, which is circular and surmounted by a dome. It's a major example of an architectural achievement using reed, wattle, bark, wood and thatch. Each of the 52 rings that surround the dome are reflective of the Buganda clans. The tomb's main significance lies in its spirituality, continuity and identity for the Baganda. It's the most active religious site in the kingdom. Since kings in the Buganda culture are believed to be immortal, they are all given the privileges and rights of the living king. This donation helps maintain the descendants of the royal family who live within the tomb site and aids in the upkeep of the site. Souvenirs are also readily available for those who want a keepsake of this spiritual experience. A visit to the sacred Kasubi tombs is a must for all who live, visit, or are simply passing through Kampala. The Uganda Museum is another site steeped in culture and history. It is a great place for a day out with friends and family. Located in Kampala, the Uganda National Museum aims to preserve, restore and display elements of Ugandan history. The many items on show are varied in their historic significance and demonstrate a tangible link between past and present. Its accessibility and convenience makes the museum a must-visit for all. But fees vary from adults and children. But perhaps one of Kampala's most revered tourist sites to date, and another must-see for all, is the Baha'i Temple located on Kikaya Hill on the outskirts of the city. This unique and magnificent place of worship opened its doors to the public in 1962. The temple is open to peoples of all religious faith. It soars above every other landmark, projecting harmony and peace. The temple is the only of its kind in Africa. Each continent has only one Baha'i temple. You are bound to find a visit here inspiring. Visitors are encouraged to spend time in the gardens, meditating and praying. While there, remember to respect the Baha'i rules. No littering, no alcohol, no smoking, and please don't pick the flowers. When Showcase Uganda returns, we discover Kampala's hotels and hangouts. Barely 10 minutes away from the city center, Didi's World along Gaba Road offers a variety of entertainment activities for the young and young at heart. This entertainment center is open 7 days a week and is an ideal weekend break for the kids. For those who find that they may have a bit more time on their hands living in or visiting Kampala and are ardent golfers or simply enjoy good sportsmanship, the Uganda Golf Club is just the place for you. The club is renowned for its well-maintained greens, professional caddies, and accommodating memberships. In fact, the golf club is considered one of the best courses in East Africa. It's a great place to relax and unwind with family and friends. With a growing number of foreign and domestic visitors traveling to Kampala each year, this bustling metropolis responds hospitably to the dining out and entertainment needs of its visitors. The hotel industry is also booming. There are a variety of 4- and 5-star hotels conveniently located within and around Kampala. They offer world-class services and packages which can be customized to your traveling needs. So whether experiencing Kampala alone, with friends or family, the type of accommodation you may be looking for is easily available at affordable rates. "20 minutes drive from Kampala city is Peak Resort Munyonyo. Besides its resplendent beauty, Munyonyo is famous for its horse riding facilities.
They are so cute, look at, very cute. And during horse riding, I can forget everything, and like feel we can win. Uganda's horse very nice, very educated, very educated like him, and landscape of lake, nature, everything very nice.
Horse riding is an interesting, let me say, game. Yeah, this is the first horse riding stable in Uganda. We really love it as Ugandans because it's the first opportunity as we Ugandans we have taken advantage of.
As the day gets hotter, you can cool down in this swimming pool while enjoying the great view. To ensure easy facilitation, you can use cash, check, or credit card. Kampala also offers a variety of malls that cater to a diverse and varied taste. Products on offer range from the basics to the more impulsive. When Showcase Uganda returns, Kampala city is famed for its variety of nightclubs with experienced DJs. Its cosmopolitan atmosphere guarantees fun evenings out, and for the so inclined, checking a leg or two is recommended.
Starting to feel it's right. Ay, 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 to the bambo, la gloria te está esperando. Latino, africano, asiático, americano, tu Dios te está mirando. Oh, baby, when you talk like that,
Showcase Uganda. We visit Ntv. See you then.
This is NTV.
In the club, in the pub, in the car, just living it up.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Achola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Joselyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010 with the release of Fallen Heroes, which she appeared alongside other established Ugandan artists like Don MC, SP, Davis, and also the Mwamba Children Choir. Her breakthrough single, How We Do It, took the Ugandan charts and MTV Africa by storm, making her an instant household name in East Africa. Keko has released singles such as Akelo, Black, Hey Hey, How We Do It, and Alwo. She has also featured in the Air, Shades, Go Green, Hustler's Night, Fallen Heroes, and Kwekunya Remix, and has scooped the Buzz Teenies Award for Best Female and Best Upcoming Artist. She has performed at the annual Selam Festival in Ethiopia, Big Brother Africa 6, 2010 Palm Awards, Young Achievers Awards, World Music Day held at Alliance Francaise, Buzz Livers Rock, Uganda Youth Convention, and Forum for Women in Democracy, alongside hand-picked international artists from Uganda and around the world.
To shake if you want to, whatever, when we party go nuts if you want to. The drinks are plenty, the chicks are ready, the music sounds hot, DJ rock steady, and vamping no steady, girl groove no debating. Since we're merrymaking in the club already, got my feet two-stepping and my palms all sweaty, so the only thing missing is a pouring confetti. In the club, in the pub, in the car, just living it up.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Achola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Joselyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010 with the release of Fallen Heroes, which she appeared alongside other established Ugandan artists like Don MC, SP, Davis, and also the Mwamba Children Choir. Her breakthrough single, How We Do It, took the Ugandan charts and MTV Africa by storm, making her an instant household name in
This is NTV. This is NTV.
A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Saturday's NTV Weekend Edition on this 4th day of August 2012. As the fight to contain the deadly Ebola virus continues, we visit the Busia border post to see the efforts being made to control the spread of the virus across the border into Kenya, thanks to a special screening unit. And can the police and the community really learn to trust and work together? We examine the concept of community policing in this week's topical feature. Now, just before we delve into the day's news, let's take a look at the headlines. Security operatives in Uganda expressed concern that illegal ammunition could flow into the country as a result of rebel clashes in the DR Congo.
I am Chris Ochamringa to bring you the highlights of the official launch of Makerere University's 90th anniversary by President Museveni.
Government has resolved that all families living in risky zones of the Elgon sub-region be relocated and resettled into camps ahead of the El Nino rains. Join me, Solomon Serwanja, with the details of that story.
Uganda Hippos are in their last preparations ahead of the return leg of the Under-20 Africa qualifiers to be played in Accra, Ghana next weekend. Join me, Alfred Odong, for the details of that story.
Once again, welcome to NTV Weekend Edition. I'm Josephine Karunji. Later on in this newscast, in our topical feature, we will be examining the concept of community policing for Uganda, where the police and the community learn to trust and work together, and the community becomes the eyes of the force. So we seek your views. Is a community-focused emphasis of policing the answer to reducing crime in Uganda? I repeat, is a community-focused emphasis of policing the answer to reducing crime in Uganda? To have your say, text 8778 followed by your name and where you are texting from. We shall be reading some of your comments during tonight's newscast. On to our top story. Security operatives in Uganda say they are worried that illegal ammunition could flow into the country and cause insecurity, mainly in areas neighboring DRC, where there is fighting between the M23 rebels and government soldiers. Colonel Felix Kulaije has told NTV that the army and other security agencies are closely monitoring Bunagana border, separating the two countries in southwestern Uganda. On Monday, heads of state from the Great Lakes region will meet President Museveni as they forge a way to resolve the Congo conflict, which the international community blames the Kigali government for. While covering the crisis across the border into Congo, our crew came across lots of ammunition abandoned carelessly. Now there are fears that wrong elements could take advantage of the volatile situation in Congo. Cyril Berhanga starts us off.
As the fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo between the M23 rebels and the DRC armed forces, thousands of people continue to be displaced. But it is not just the locals. Once an area is captured, the soldiers also run away, abandoning their guns and ammunitions. At Chengero inside the DRC, one of the residents approached the rebels and took us where they saw an abandoned gun. Lying under the fairly thick shrubs, a new mortar gun was discovered. It is just one gun out of many that are still lying in the civilian neighborhoods. But it is just about 6 kilometers from here to the Ugandan border with DRC in Bunagana. Therefore, it causes a security threat to the country.
It's an issue of concern for us, but what can we do?
As you can see, such bullets which are left anywhere are likely to land in the hands of the civilians, and it will take time to completely weed out such kind of ammunition from the locals. The children here are used to the bullets and they find no problem with sorting them. There are fears that if these bullets land in the hands of wrong elements, they are likely to cause insecurity.
One by one, the locals are bringing the abandoned guns to us.
We are monitoring the border very closely, both in terms of at the level of intelligence and at the level of even physical presence, to ensure that nobody indeed exploits that vacuum.
Critics say that the major remedy for all this is ending the conflict that is continuing to escalate as rebels continue to capture more towns from the government soldiers en route to Goma, the main town in eastern Congo. On Tuesday, heads of state from 10 Great Lakes region will meet President Museveni as they forge a way to resolve the Congo conflict, for which the international community blames the Kigali government.
The issue of building capacity of the Congolese armed forces is of a priority to the region.
Sudil Biarhanga, NTV.
A team of health experts at the Busia and Malaba, Kenya border posts have set up Ebola surveillance units to screen travelers crossing from Uganda into Kenya. The screening follows an outbreak of the deadly virus in western Uganda that has so far claimed 17 lives.
The creation of the special screening unit on the 30th of July at both the Busia and Malaba, Kenya border posts is an attempt to prevent the deadly Ebola virus from spreading across the border into Kenya. Jaffa Sambani is the health officer heading the operation at the Busia border, and he says that the screening exercise is in order to gather information from travelers relating to whether they have come in contact with the Ebola victims and where they are coming from.
We are carrying out surveillance on people who are coming from Uganda, especially Kampala, Kampala and other surrounding areas. These are the areas that we have had an outbreak of Ebola, and therefore we are asking people questions so that if we have people from there, we can ask them who have they been in contact with, maybe whether they have been involved in the funerals of people concerned.
They are also examining the travelers in order to determine whether they are sick or demonstrating any Ebola-like symptoms. At the Busia, Kenya District Hospital, a special Ebola ward has also been established in order to handle any Ebola case if it emerges.
All the gadgets are here for dressing. So we are just set and we are prepared. In the eventualities of anything, we are set.
Makerere University has marked 90 years of its existence today with a colorful launch at the university campus, presided over by President Yoweri Museveni. The president called upon the university dons to promote science and technology in the country in order to secure Uganda and Africa's future. The function marks the beginning of a series of activities that the university has lined up for the entire year to mark its 90th anniversary. Chris Ochamringa reports.
President Museveni was given a warm welcome by students from Makerere University's Performing Arts Department as he made his way to commemorate the university's 90th anniversary. The event, whose theme focuses on leadership and innovation, had a huge exhibition of some of the great works of students at the prestigious institution. One of the innovations that caught the president's eye was this robot that's said to detect and defuse bombs. Makerere was founded in 1922 as a technical school, but later upgraded to a university.
It is our foremost priority to continue building highly skilled human resource force that can fully utilize the natural resources of this nation to prepare Ugandans to economic prosperity.
The president, in his keynote address, urged the scholars to promote science and technology in the country.
We must guarantee our own future. And the way to guarantee our future is to develop science and technology. Now that I've seen what we are doing here, I'm going to ensure that I struggle and look for a revolving fund for these young people.
Uganda has over the years experienced a flight of science teachers to other countries that pay better salaries, but the president urged scientists to be more patient in expecting salary increments.
The salary you get is not enough, I know it, but your patience will be rewarded. Not in heaven, but even here on earth, but at the right time.
The function marks the beginning of a series of events that will run across the year to commemorate the university's achievements.
So we are celebrating the 50 years of East Africa's Golden Jubilee. That started with Tanzania, now Uganda and Kenya next year. But we are also celebrating the next 50 years.
Makerere University has trained and continues to train some of the key human resources in the region.
The guests were then treated to some captivating salsa dancing by the students. This institution has produced great men and women in Africa in its 90 years of existence. But this particular celebration comes amid a looming strike by lecturers over the payment of their allowances, coupled with other controversies around the selection of the Vice-Chancellor, which all seem to taint the great achievements that this university has made. Chris Ochamringa, Ntv, Makerere University.
Now, last night here on NTV, we brought you U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's state visit to Uganda, where amongst many other engagements, she was involved in closed-door talks with President Museveni. Tonight, we bring you the story of a 15-year-old girl who is living testimony of Hillary Clinton's visit to Uganda while she was the First Lady back in 1998. Florence Nalimba meets with Uganda's very own Hillary Clinton.
15 years ago, inside this stomach was a 7-month-old baby waiting for just 2 more months before arriving into the world. And while she waited, a lady who back then was the First Lady of the United States of America, married to President Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, happened to visit her village, New Bubadre in Kawempe in 1997 and met with the woman she would soon be calling Mommy.
Hillary told me that if the baby were a girl, I should name her Hillary.
And Uganda's very own Hillary Clinton grew. At the age of 10, she wanted to meet her aunt, a powerful American woman whom she had been named after.
We always used to motivate her by telling her that the reason as why you always the first is because your auntie was too bright. Her name had started becoming a laughing point because her friends were telling her, you are a daughter of Hillary Clinton, and yet you are a fees defaulter.
In fact, she decided to drop the name Hillary Clinton in primary 7.
Children could joke around, jesting, saying that this and this, how comes that you are black?
Well, in hard times, Hillary's mother, Victoria Nambi, remembered the promises made by Hillary Clinton during her visit, especially after her husband died thereafter Hillary Clinton's departure from Uganda.
I showed her my grocery business and even took her to my unfinished house, for which I had no funds to complete.
I will complete it.
The only connection they had with Hillary were these pictures believed to have been sent from the White House in America.
Hillary Clinton, the daughter and mom.
However, efforts to get in touch with her proved futile. All attempts failed, and despite all the determination to get in touch, the family of 8 eventually gave up.
Until when we saw an article in the newspaper where Bill Clinton is helping a kid they named after. And we are like, let us also wake up.
But they woke up a little too late, because while Hillary came to Uganda this week, she seemed to have not remembered the baby in the stomach. Hillary instead talked about Uganda's Bill Clinton from Jinja, named after her husband when he came to Uganda as a US president in the late 90s.
My husband was just back in Uganda a week ago, and he met Bill Clinton, who's now about 12 years old. And he's healthy, and he's handsome, and he's doing well in school. That's what we want for every boy and girl in Uganda.
Namale Hillary Noel Clinton is also bright, especially after being reminded by her family that she has the brightest aunt in the world. For Uganda's Hillary, aside from wanting financial help, she would love to shower her American aunt with love.
I just want to tell her that I love you, maybe I love her, and maybe I can even hug her. Because for me, I'm not used to hugging people, but to her I can.
But now it may unfortunately be too late for her, because the US Secretary of State this morning flew to Kenya and will be visiting other African countries before flying back to America.
But Namale hopes that even if it takes 15 years later, she'll be waiting to see her beloved aunt. Florence Nalimba, NTV.
Since cases of the nodding disease syndrome began escalating in northern Uganda late last year, many schools in the affected districts started reporting a reduction in attendance, and in some cases parents complained of the burden of monitoring the children, which they say is depriving them of their economic livelihood. It is on this basis that a daycare center has been set up by a civil society organization called Gulu Hope to take care of the nodding disease victims in Odek sub-county. Moses Akena reports.
Major impediments to taking care of the sufferers from the nodding disease syndrome has been the inability of parents to balance time between looking after the children and activities like cultivating their garden. Schools have also reported a challenge in day-to-day teaching. For instance, at the beginning of this year, out of a population of 532 pupils of Aroma Wanglewe Primary School, 165 had nodding disease syndrome, and 12 of them have since died, as well as 70 dropped out.
It always interrupt almost every lessons which we conduct in the school. Secondly, it has brought fears.
This daycare center, started by Gulu Hope, will go a long way in supporting parents, especially in looking after their children as they go about their work.
They could get some nourishment, they could get medication daily. Weekly they will be weighed They will have their height taken. They will have different elements of their physical being monitored, so that way we can help do some research and try to find maybe a key that will open the mystery of nodding syndrome.
The center, officially opened yesterday, will also be used for research and education. District leaders urged parents to take advantage of the center to enable their children to get medication.
We also caution against the use of traditional medicine, which we are hearing is very rampant.
Since February this year, the government and NGOs have come up with different interventions on the nodding disease syndrome, just like this one. But the question that lingers in the mind of Ugandans and then the parents of the victims is how, when, and who will get the cure for the disease. For now, though, the parents are hoping that things will get better. Moses Akena, NTV, in Odek Sub-County, Bulu District.
It's time to take a short break, but just before we do, a quick look at what's coming up. The Bamasaba in Uganda and Kenya officially launched the season of traditional circumcision ceremonies for the Bagisu. And in this week's topical feature, can the police and the community really learn to trust and work together? We examine the concept of community policing. NTV Weekend Edition continues after this short break. Stay with us.
This is NTV. This is NTV.
Ideally, we all have the right to express our opinions and views truthfully and openly.
tugenda katongole mbukasam
Kampala the bus. The discussion is still going on in the bus.
Tulino kugumira challenges ezimu gwe tuba tulino goba abatembeyi mwami lukwaga agumaga abatembeyi mugende no mbadengala kunyonyola mukulu mbadengala kunyonyola mwami yagambye nti meya lukwago ye meya omutuufu
gavumenti ekutte lukwago emunyigira mu nsonga takyekyusa.
Welcome back to minibus kyogereko.
Singa omusajja abankwana nga njagala sifa ku kya ssente wabula nfa ku mbeera yeyisa
alimba ono
This is minibus
kyogereko.
This is NTV.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Ochola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Joselyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010 with the release of Fallen Heroes, which she appeared alongside other established Ugandan artists like Don MC, SP, Davis, and also the Mwamba Children Choir. Her breakthrough single, How We Do It, took the Ugandan charts and MTV Africa by storm, making her an instant household name in East Africa.
The other area also will fade. And also the gentleman still staying up is not very safe because the lower side is still hanging.
With these warnings now being sounded even louder, a cabinet subcommittee on disaster management led by General Moses Ali traveled to Bududa in order to draw up a rescue plan before the coming of the rains. The team traversed all sub-counties before making resolutions in consultations with the local authorities. Top on the list was the immediate evacuation and relocation of families that live in the areas deemed as risky, especially those located on the slopes of Mount Elgon.
And that has made it very, very urgent for us that we should move away those people who are already there in risky areas to be relocated in a safer area. Even if the El Nino come in September, at least it will not find people there to be buried.
As the month of August sets in, heavy rains are expected in the Bugisu sub-region. But the challenge that government is finding is getting land to resettle these people within this region. After hours of searching for land within Bududa district, 6 campsites were identified where people living in the risky areas can be temporarily resettled.
We've asked our technical officers to move in very fast and identify the actual number of people to be settled in these camps. However, as of now, we know we have 3 camps which we can really talk about. And of course, in these 3 camps, fortunately, there are pit latrines that were established there. We hope that the disaster preparedness will have other small things that people need in the camps, like soap. The Ministry of Water has assured us they have all the equipments that will provide safe water to the people here.
These camps include Bulucheke Camp, Babita Camp, Bukalasi Camp, which are already in existence, while Nangoka Camp, Bukari Camp and Bududa Town Council camps are yet to be established. All those that are to be relocated in the camps, according to the subcommittee, will only return to the hills to cultivate, but not to stay in their houses at night.
Then we think to also avoid them from going back, possibly we will also give them some plots of land. Which plot of land will be given to them and they will be encouraged to put up their own building.
The committee also revealed that there is sufficient food and water in order to feed all those that are going to be in these camps. A total of 198 tents have since been delivered to the district headquarters, awaiting to be pitched after final arrangements are completed. However, what still remains unclear tonight is whether or not these vulnerable families will accept to descend downhill for their safety. Solomon Serwanja, NTV Weekend Edition.
The perception of the Uganda police has not always been the rosy picture of approachable, courteous and helpful. In fact, many people have always shied away from going to the police for help, preferring to use other means to find justice and protection. So what if there was a system that, if properly effected, could in the long run pave the way to more secure communities? In this week's topical feature, we look at the concept of community policing, where the police and the community learn to trust and work together, and the community becomes the eyes of the force. Our traditional police force has always been reactionary. A crime occurs, they show up to deal with the consequences, investigate and send the criminals to the courts. 2 years ago, this post decided to go proactive, and the best way they realized was to engage with the locals, learn and deal with the problems that lead to crime.
We devise advice, which we call crime prevention tips. It can be defilement, it can be rape, it can be robbery, it can be moving with cash.
The community policing module is built on 6 elements: building a database, sensitizing the community about individual security consciousness, ensuring the security of premises, access control, that is, knowing who has access to your home and how best to optimally use available technology to secure it, the neighborhood watch, where everyone is each other's keeper, foot, car and bicycle patrols. That database comes in handy for the authorities to keep track of the vulnerable people, the ex-criminals, and have general information of the people in the community. But with a public that is increasingly growing weary of giving out information, suspicious of being monitored, registration might not be easily embraced, even though it might be for their own good.
If you don't want to be part of
of a program that strengthens your security. Do you even like yourself?
Perhaps the most disappointing aspect for the IGP, who has been credited for being part of the force behind the initiative, is that the business community, the people who would enable this initiative, some of who he has shared the idea with, have ignored it.
It's in your interest. I mean, then you turn around, oh, they have robbed me, oh, they will rob you, of course, because you have put yourself in a position to be robbed.
Community policing basically has the concept of everyone playing a role in keeping crime out of their neighborhood, building communities that are close-knit.
In mob justice, some people blame the judicial system that the justice is not being rendered, and that's why they decide to do that. But here now, the community is in charge also.
This community of 25,000 people seems to have so much respect for their police. The secret was in effort.
The police started greeting people. They greet. Eventually, the community also responded.
People, we even invite them in our meetings of the youths. We come, we chat around, they advise us what we can do.
This post has a computer with internet for the youth to use freely. They also give free health services and support women groups. The community used to have over 100 crime cases a month. In the last 2 years, the cases have gone down to about 25, and even these are minor. As such, the police post does not have a holding cell. If the case is too major, the criminal is transferred to Kabalagala police post. This way, the people look at the police as more of a friend and confidant than a bully in uniform.
As long as you have a good approach, as long as you mobilize through the leaders, as long as you have good police officers, the community are willing to work with the police.
Sometimes the great divide in the social classes is the reason for many crimes. They have learned to engage the communities and get the different social classes to constantly meet and build each other. For Omari, this is the way to go. Have as many well-facilitated community policing posts as possible around the country with well-paid police officers, and the crime rate will go down. After all, everyone wants to be secure. Police agencies must help to build stronger, more self-sufficient communities in which crime and disorder will not thrive. And maybe this is one way of doing it. From the look of it, community policing is democracy in action. Josephine Karunji, NTV. Joining us in the studio tonight is Yasin Omari, a community policing advisor. A very warm welcome to NTV Weekend Edition.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Omari, there is the thought that for community policing to work, a police officer must have lived in a community for about 15 years, not in the barracks, but within the community. What is the rationale behind that?
That is true because once a community police officer stays within the community, there is that trust and the rapport which is created. In fact, that is what it should be. But unfortunately, with our police, the majority are still in the barracks. So this is really a challenge. But is it even feasible? Do we have the resources to take care or to deal with the welfare of a police officer outside the barracks? That is very difficult because police is really underfunded. So unless if government comes up, the parliament, all the stakeholders really to look into that. Otherwise, we still have that challenge. Let's look at the fact that with community policing, communities have to be registered and people are weary of getting registered. How do you encourage the population in the post in Muyenga to get registered? For us, in fact, it is the community that even bought the computers that we have there. So it was not the police forcing them. And then what we are doing there is once you want a service from within the local council, because I'm also a chairperson there. So what we do, we ask you first to go and register. Then after that, we give you free service. So people, they are now willing. Involving these communities in policing their own areas, doesn't that give them a little extra power? Doesn't it give room for mob justice if they know that a criminal lives within them, amongst them? How easy is it for them to try and sort the matter their own way? It is the opposite, because since they are in charge now of the policing, they are part of it on equal level with police. So they are more responsible. They are the one in charge. In fact, it is going against mob justice, because prior to the establishment of that community police, we had several mob justice cases, but since its establishment, we never had any.
Well, so far we see that our police force and the public do not have a very good relationship. How do you build that trust?
Yes, you see, there was mistrust before. So what was done is that we had a chance to have the Irish chief of police who came, and they taught us that the key element is just greeting, really. You know, so they started greeting people.
Just a greeting.
Just greeting, and then eventually the community responded. So that rapport came. That is one. Two, we have several programs there. We have the health services, which is done by the community, and recently KCCA also joined on board. So they are also now a part of it. Now, that health services at the community, which is free of charge, is now attracting those who don't have, the vulnerable members of the community from the slum area. And as a result now, they are coming closer to the police, and the relationship now is good.
Okay.
But also another thing is that the police we have there, the community police, they are also trained. So they have really changed. There is some kind of change with the police today, at least those ones that we have. So that has also helped.
One of our problems is that every time there's a threat, that is when people beef up security, they take a lot of precaution. When the threat passes, they stop being alert. How do you encourage people to be on the alert all the time?
You see, our community there, at first we also suffered. We had a lot of cases in Muyenga. But later on, we kept on sensitizing people. And what is in our community set up there is that we built it with the police. So it is our community police post. It is, we own it. Therefore, we are forced, we cannot now reverse. We have to keep on being attached to it. In fact, there is attachment to it. There is involvement in it. We are committed to it, and it is a belief now for us. But I believe other people can do it. Really, Buziga also interested, I'm told. Mutunga also interested. Kawempe, they have done here, a small post is there. So it can really come, because without a safe environment, you cannot have development.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
So we don't have an option, really. We have to go with it. And community policing is the cheapest way of policing, because you get accurate information.
From the people
within. From the people. You see? You get, you can even predict what will happen, you know, in terms of crime.
You have sources.
Yes, we have sources. Now, another thing is that, but the only challenge we have is that all the stakeholders have not come on board. At least KCC has tried, like the street lighting. You see, that is also very important. For the first time, KCC paid recently 21 million shillings to clear the bills that were left 8 years ago. Now, with street lighting, it's also a tool, because once we have light at night, the thieves also leave the area.
So ideally, different stakeholders coming on board to take care of their own communities would be the ideal.
Yes, that's the answer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Omari, for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking to Yasin Omari, a community policing advisor. Now moving on, the Bamasawa in Uganda and Kenya have officially launched the season of traditional circumcision ceremonies at Mutoto Cultural Site in Bale District. The function was graced by the Bugisu cultural leader Umukuka Wilson Wamimbe and was characterized with traditional dances, including the kadori and the wearing of traditional dress. As the cultural ceremonies known as the Imbalu have now begun, the Bugisu argue that traditional circumcision reduces risk of HIV and STDs.
John Musira, the spokesperson of Bugisu region, says circumcision reduces the risk of acquiring HIV, AIDS and other sexually transmitted infections by over 70% compared to men who are non-circumcised. He revealed that doctors in the region had discovered these facts long ago and have now been supported by WHO together with other scientists.
Today, the World Health Organization and all scientists around the world have discovered that circumcision becomes quite very, very important. The Bamasaba knew that several years, thousands of years ago.
Musira argues that HIV can be acquired through 3 methods, but men who have been circumcised can get it only through 1 method.
When you have a foreskin, when you pull it up during the sexual intercourse, it gets cracked. So if you went with a partner with HIV, then it can pass through the cracks. 2, it can still remain within this foreskin even after the occurrence, and it will find its way inside. 3, it will go through the urethra. But once you are circumcised, then the 2 chances are struck off.
However, the Bagisu dismissed allegations that they are forcing non-Bagisu to circumcise. They argue that the culture does not allow them to force people into the ceremony against their will.
If you are a non-Masaba and then you request for circumcision, then we shall go ahead to do so on your own request.
The celebrations turned rowdy when the dancing and chanting crowds began flashing the FDC sign and demanded that the leader of opposition in parliament, Nandala Mafabi, speaks to them. At one point, they denied audience to other leaders. Over 10,000 boys are expected to be circumcised in Uganda and Kenya in an exercise which is seen as an initiation for boys to become men.
Let's take another short break. I'll be back with the latest in sport.
This is NTV.
Kwene embeera y'abasajja bano
essuubi nga lyakugwamu mama
bano abasajja abanaatera n'okujja kusigiriza ffe ekiro basituleko emiwumbo gy'emmere bagitwale
sogera byange kibanda bana bagamba nga bweyagala nkubulira ebyange ja tugende emyanzi
mpulira abanyumya babeera bakujerega waliko omusawo w'ekinansi South Africa baba bakujerega obituufu
baba banjerega oyo mufere mubbi yennyini yeetaaga miggo
omuntu wa bulijjo tomuzannyirangako abeeranga dormant volcano
wemba mukkiriza nina takuwa mugiyita
ate takuwa gobeera mugoberezi tolowooza ndi muli mulimo oyogerera omusiraamu singa naakubuuza nti katonda yagamba atya
oba oli pasita ng'okyawa olimba obba oyenda olina abakazi 3 please heaven is waiting for you. One day you'll pay, and soon your time is out.
Otisa moni.
Sitisa. Mkuburira. Yesu talimba.
Ebintu mbimala mulundi gumu. Kati what I love this.
Gwokola bi.
Wegase n'omusajja mutwale mabi.
This is NTV.
Welcome to NTV Weekend Sport. Team Uganda has suffered yet another setback in the ongoing London 2012 Olympics as Dorcas Nzikuru failed to go past the preliminary round of the women's steeplechase race dominated by the Ethiopians. We have the details of the 3 heats that saw an Ethiopian competitor register the fastest time.
Dorcas Nzikuru has bowed out of the ongoing Olympics after finishing 7th in Heat 3 of the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase event. Nzikuru ran the distance in a time of 9 minutes and 35.29 seconds. Her group was won by Hiwat Ayelu of Ethiopia, who registered the fastest time over on 9 minutes and 24.1 seconds. Gesa Felicitas Cross of Germany came second ahead of Etenash Diro and Sophia Asafa, both from Ethiopia, in 3rd and 4th positions. The preliminary round had 44 competitors, but only the first 15 will run in the final on Monday. Alfred Odong, NTV Sport.
Uganda Hippos began their training this morning, concentrating on how to contain the black satellites of Ghana in the second leg of the Africa Under-20 qualifier next weekend. The team are determined to score as they look at making the last round of the competition. Here's Alfred Odong.
Uganda Hippos are capitalizing on their 3-1 win over the Black Satellites of Ghana in Kampala to reach the last round of the Africa Youth Football qualifiers. This team is now working on the likely situations that may arise while in Ghana, whose team will be looking for goals required to advance in the competition.
We are trying to do our best such that we become confident when we have the ball, such that we can't lose it anyhow, because we shall be away.
Covering, and of course that as in transition of from that area there, as in closing down opponents and then trying to go into attack.
The winners will play either Morocco or Gambia, who play the decider next weekend. Morocco away with a 4-0 advantage. Uganda Hippos are in their last preparations before setting off on Thursday to face the Black Satellites of Ghana in the second leg of the Under-20 Africa qualifiers next weekend. They need a draw or at worst lose by 1-0 to advance to the next stage. They face Morocco or Gambia in the next stage. Alfred Odong, NTV Sport.
The future of Ugandan football continues to brighten with the ever-expanding number of football competitions and academies for children. Today, over 120 children of various age categories took part in the one-day Edgar's Youth Soccer Academy Children's League organized at the Makerere Business School playgrounds in Nakawa. League Director Edgar Watson says the league is organized to test the children's skills gained during training ahead of the holiday training program starting this Monday.
Players learn skills, you need a test. You need to put a test in a match kind of situation. And this is the fora, the Children's League, where kids come in to compete in a match, which is localized, which is happy, and then also to learn more about other people who are playing in other programs. So they come in, they verse other teams, and it's a match like you'll have a league that is going on in the country, and the players come in to play to win.
A good number of soccer players, fans and members of their families are either rendered incapacitated or die due to malaria each year. The problem has not only affected talent development of football players on the continent, but also has a big impact on an individual's pocket. This has, as a result, deprived the game of many more would-be spectators and sponsorship. Against this background, the United Against Malaria campaign has started, and football has been identified as the most effective tool to reach the most vulnerable communities. Sam Poza has that story.
It severely affected him while he played football for Sports Club Villa and the national team, the Uganda Cranes. And when he was introduced to the campaign to fight malaria through football, the Federation of Uganda Football Association's Chief Executive Officer and former Uganda Cranes and Sports Club Villa captain Edgar Watson did not hesitate to join it.
Myself, I missed so many club and national team matches because of malaria, and this I wish we had known that time. It's something that if we all knew and we are aware, we could prevent it and maybe have better, games that will be played at that time.
Founded ahead of the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the campaign is championed by an alliance of football teams, celebrities and other stakeholders who have united against malaria. However, one wonders why, among all other things, football was chosen as a conduit for the campaign.
We need very healthy players, we need healthy referees, we need fans to come to the stadium. We need sponsors, and we cannot have good sponsors unless their companies are doing well and their employees are free of malaria.
When they come to see football, a social message that handles a problem that is affecting them at home, malaria, is also portrayed, and they will learn it with a loving attitude. And we think it's an effective way where a football star who has scored a goal on the game, comes in to tell you, by the way, it's not only about football, but there's this problem that can affect us not to enjoy football. But please do use a net, for example.
If a player sleeps under a net, chances are a young boy would want to emulate what his idol is doing, and they would want to sleep on the net as well.
As soon as its inception, soccer federations and teams in the Sekafa region, and Uganda in particular, immediately embraced the campaign. 5 Uganda Super League teams, including URA, Bunamwaya, Proline, Simba and Hoima Busia, are among over 200 partners worldwide, uniting in the fight against malaria through sports. However, the million-dollar question remains: has the campaign met its objectives on the football platform?
It has been effective. It's not only at the international or national level where the Cranes are playing, but actually also in the communities, in the local communities. As people come in to watch football, a campaign is being sorted out by the clubs.
So a malaria banner on the football pitch, it is seen by 30, 60, 1,000 people at a go. But the TV, it captures it as well.
And because of such achievements, the proponents of the campaign have secured rights to extend the malaria awareness campaign for the 2013 Africa Cup of Nations finals being held next year in South Africa, and also for the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Sam Poza, NTV Sport.
And that winds up NTV Sport for tonight. Stay with us.
Top 3. This is NTV.
Born to Dorothy and Alex Ochola on June the 3rd, 1987, our star profile today, Joselyn Tracy Keko, grew up with a vision of becoming a force to reckon with in the music industry. Keko, whose name means early in the morning, is a Japadola Ugandan artist who comes from Tororo. Keko is the last born of 3 girls and schooled from Rockview Primary School, St. Noah and Maryhill High School before pursuing a Bachelor of Commerce at Makerere University. She's a Ugandan rapper who has taken over the music scene in Africa. Her rise to fame began in 2010 with the release of Fallen Heroes.
For staying with us, let's take you back to tonight's NTV Weekend poll, where we asked, is a community-focused emphasis of policing the answer to reducing crime in Uganda? Zeta Tuesugomwe says the only problem with Ugandan leaders is the ability of thinking about brilliant ideas but never implementing them. Jerome Oteke says if charity begins at home, to a higher extent crime may be brought to a halt. It depends on one's mindset too. Joseph Odeke says yes, but in most cases, if an eyewitness reports a case, he or she is considered first suspect, and this is a big hindrance. And finally, Perez Malinzi says a good means of identification is needed. However, it would be good for the community to take matters of security as a collective responsibility. Security in all circles, if taken seriously by everyone, does a lot to help. Well, thank you so much for all of those responses, and they bring us to the end of tonight's NTV Weekend Edition. Thank you for watching. From myself and the team behind the scenes, it's good night. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place.
This is NTV. 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 is NTV. This 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 is NTV.